What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Artur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr., and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the unified WBC, WBO, and IBF Light Heavyweight World Championship, and this fight is going to be Saturday, June 18th, from the Madison Square Garden Theater in New York City, New York, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or in the ESPN app. And to get into both fighters' resumes, Artur Beterbiev, fighting out of Russia, holds a record of 17 wins with no defeats and 17 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently the only world champion that does have a 100% knockout ratio, and he's currently ranked number 2 by BoxRec in the light heavyweight division, and is the current unified WBC and IBF light heavyweight world champion. And to list some of his best victories, all are obviously by knockout, as he's beaten Callum Johnson, Radivoje Kaladzik. He's also beaten Alexander Vozdik, Adam Dinas, and in his last fight he got a very solid win over Marcus Brown. And to get his opponent's resume, Joe Smith Jr., fighting out of the United States, holds a record of 28 wins with 3 defeats and 22 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 4 by BoxRec in the light heavyweight division, and is the current WBO light heavyweight world champion. And to list all of his defeats, he has a knockout loss to Eddie Caminero earlier on in his career, like many years ago. He also has a unanimous decision loss to Sullivan Barrera, and a unanimous decision defeat to current WBA light heavyweight world champion Dimitri Bivol. And to list some of his best victories, he has a knockout win over Andrew Fonfara, a knockout win over Bernard Hopkins, a split decision victory over Jesse Hart, a knockout win over Elador Alvarez, a majority decision victory, which was very controversial, over Maxim Vlasov, and he is coming off a easy knockout victory over Steve Gerard. So in my opinion, this fight is going to go in favor of Artur Beterbiev. I know that Beterbiev is aging. He's obviously coming out of his prime a bit, obviously, because he's 37 years old, not as active as many of the other fighters in the light heavyweight division. But, this is a big fight for both of these fighters. Definitely the biggest fight of Joe Smith Jr.'s career, and probably the biggest fight of Artur Beterbiev's career. I know Beterbiev already fought Vozdik for a unification, but this one, 3 belts on the line in Madison Square Garden. I know it's a theater, but it's still on a big stage. So this arguably could be counted as Beterbiev's biggest fight of his career. So, I'm actually very excited for this fight. Both these guys are heavy power punchers. Both of them love to bang in the ring, like to come forward, throw big punches, and really just go for that knockout. Obviously, Beterbiev with all knockouts. And Joe Smith Jr. is a very, very entertaining brawler. I know that many people don't really think about Joe Smith Jr. when it comes to his defense and his susceptibility to punches, but, I don't even think that the only time that he's been stopped has been recorded. Obviously, like a broadcast or anything, but because of how early on in his career it was maybe when he had maybe less than 10 fights or just over 10 fights. It was years ago, and his other losses, he showed that he could take some punches. And when he stepped up to the top level, it's shown that he could take a lot of punishment and really just stick in there, and shows that he does have a good chin. But Beterbiev, as we know, is definitely the hardest hitting puncher in the light heavyweight division, and one of, if not the top 10, maybe top 15 hardest hitting fighters in boxing pound for pound today. So Artur Beterbiev, as I mentioned before, likes to come forward. Does have very fast hands, actually, considering when you do see how he lets his combinations go, he makes sure that he lands all the punches he does throw. I was watching some of his highlights earlier, and he does not really get his credit for, his speed of his punches. I know he's aging, but, his punches still flow very fast. He has that sort of nice old school style, just going in there, banging it out with his opponents. And same with Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. is really a very entertaining fighter, arguably more entertaining than Beterbiev, because, with him, he just also, I know both of these fighters are very, very good when it comes to, obviously, entertaining the fans, because they have excellent power. But Joe Smith Jr., he really does make sure his opponent is the one off the back foot. He really tries to make sure that he's the one coming forward, he's the one pressing the action. And we haven't really seen many fighters really pressing the action on Joe Smith Jr., and Artur Beterbiev could be the one to do it. But the thing is, with Beterbiev, he has shown that he could get hurt, he could get dropped. We saw him get dropped by Callum Johnson pretty bad. I'm pretty sure I've seen him get dropped by some other fighters in the amateurs, but yet again, that is the amateurs. But, yeah, he's been dropped by Callum Johnson. He hits hard, but, we will see how Beterbiev is able to take Joe Smith Jr.'s punches, because Smith does hit really, really hard. And, there's a definite shot. I don't really think that either of these men will win by decision. I think either way, it could be a knockout for both. At first, I was thinking maybe Joe Smith Jr. could pull off an upset, but after watching more highlights of Artur Beterbiev, I was sticking with the unified champion and thinking that he will get the job done and win this fight by stoppage late in the fight. And I don't think that Beterbiev is going to be hitting Smith Jr. with one shot like a Deontay Wilder and knocking him out. I think that Beterbiev is going to bombard Joe Smith Jr. with his combinations, really because he's a headhunter. He's just going to be going to the head throughout the entire fight. Joe Smith Jr., I think, is going to fight very similar to how we have always seen. And this is going to be a very interesting clash of styles, because both these guys are known to be the guys coming forward and pressing the action in the fight. Many people are saying this could be a fight of the year contender when it does happen. And, both these fighters could be just sitting at the center of the ring, throwing punches like Rock'em Sock'em robots. So, this could be a really, really good fight. But the thing is, I just think Beterbiev is a bit more crisp with his punches and combinations, and I think that most of his shots will get there. But yet again, Joe Smith Jr., also a very, very good pressure fighter in the ring, could be getting his shots on Beterbiev and could be hurting him and could actually stop Beterbiev. But obviously, as I mentioned before, I think Beterbiev will get the job done. And how I see this fight going down round by round, I think this fight will be actually very competitively fought throughout. It's not like it's like a boxer versus a puncher. It's not like it could be like, let's say if Joe Smith Jr. fought Bivol again, where Bivol's the one on the outside boxing, or let's say even if Bivol fought Beterbiev, it's not like Bivol's going to be one on the outside, boxing. This fight is fought between two styles that are almost identical, that love to come forward and throw big punches. But I feel like Beterbiev might actually fight more at mid-range a bit, because Beterbiev, remember, he does come from that very good Russian school of boxing, where, they obviously train in those gyms to box, to come forward and such, but I know that he's super comfortable with coming forward, but we could see him maybe try and counterpunch a little bit, but, I would not bet on that, obviously, but, I think that's definitely a possibility, but I would definitely edge Beterbiev coming forward a bit. But considering that Beterbiev arguably does hit harder than Joe Smith Jr., he'll probably be the one pressing the action a bit more, but Joe Smith Jr. also will be really trying hard and really trying to push back the unified champion in Beterbiev. And yet again, Joe Smith Jr., he's coming off an excellent run. We have to remember he's dominated Jesse Hart. I know it was a split decision, but he really did dominate him. He dominated Eleider Alvarez. He did get that close win over Maxim Vlasov, but that's still an excellent win. So he's coming off an excellent, excellent run. Artur Beterbiev, on the other hand, is a bit inactive and hasn't looked as good as he has in the as good as he has in the past, compared to his other fights. For example, against guys like Johnson. Even though he got dropped against Callum Johnson, he looked explosive. He looked powerful. Even Vosdick, even Kaladzik, even all those guys, he's looked excellent against. I know in his last fight against Marcus Brown, which was probably his second best win to date, he looked a bit more slow in the beginning of the fight and was getting outboxed a bit. But yet again, Joe Smith Jr. is not a boxer. He's a brawler. And that's really the style that Beterbiev is going to want, because Joe Smith is going to stay there and try and trade with him. It might not be good if he gets hit, but like we've seen throughout Beterbiev's career, when he hits guys, they don't stay around. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think this fight will be very competitively fought early on. Let's say from rounds 1 to rounds 4, it could be really, really close in the scorecards. Maybe it could be 3 rounds to 1 in favor of Beterbiev, just because I think his punches will get off a bit more crisp on the judges' eyes, and they will score them in his favor, or it could be 38-38. I really think because of these comparisons of styles, it could be a close fight after 4. But then from rounds 5 to, let's say, round 8, round 5 to round 8, I could see Beterbiev maybe taking away on the fight a bit more, winning a bit more rounds, but Joe Smith Jr. will still be in there brawling with Beterbiev. He could even stun Beterbiev a bit in those middle rounds, and he could definitely win a couple of them. So, after, let's say 6 rounds, it could be maybe 58-56 Beterbiev. Maybe some people could have a 57-57, but that's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe I think maybe somewhere around 58-56 in favor of Beterbiev after 6. And then obviously round 7 and 8, I think Beterbiev will actually start to land his punches a bit more, really start to break down Joe Smith Jr. a bit, and this is where I think that the stoppage could happen. I think that after round 8, Joe Smith Jr. will be a bit more vulnerable to getting hit a lot more, considering that Beterbiev, the very smart fighter he is, will find more openings and land his shots more. But yet again, Joe Smith Jr. will still be in there really trying to throw his punches, but I think he will be more susceptible to getting hit with his defense. So then after round 8, I think the scorecards could read 78-74 to 77-75 in favor of Beterbiev. And then from round 9 on, like let's say from rounds 8 to rounds 12, I could see Beterbiev landing big shots, backing up Joe Smith Jr. and getting a standing stoppage. I don't know if Joe Smith Jr. has ever been dropped in his career, but he could knock him out, drop him, he doesn't get up at the 10 count. He could stop him standing, whatever. I think it will be a stoppage or knockout win for Artur Beterbiev, and he will keep that 100% knockout ratio. Comment down below your thoughts on this fight, and who you think is going to win, and what do you think is next for the winner. So overall, I believe that Artur Beterbiev will defeat Joe Smith Jr. by knockout, and I believe that the stoppage will happen from rounds 8 to rounds 12. And with this victory, which I think Beterbiev will get, he will become the unified WBC, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight world champion. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.